So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have exciting topic to cover, and we are joining forces today between Growise and Avomind. Growise is a fractional chief revenue officer agency. We are helping organizations simply to make money. So if you have a problem with revenue architecture, you don't know why your revenue is plateauing or not growing fast enough, please contact us. And we also have Avomind today. Thank you so much for joining, guys. It is a market entry firm that is helping companies in entering new markets from commercial strategy analytics professionals perspective. And they serve multiple industries, including life sciences, professional services, software development, etc., all across Europe. And we have them today with us. Thank you so much for joining. And Naura here is going to be taking the stage first to talk through her portion. And what we are discussing today really is a focus on aligning go-to-market strategy, sales execution, and hiring in Southeast Asia. So really, pretty much everything and anything you need to know if you're thinking about expansion, not just entering into Asia, but really expanding in Asia. So it doesn't really matter if you want to come in here and make business here and be successful, that's for you. If you're already here or you were founded in Asia and you want to expand across Asia, that's for you as well. So without further ado, I will hand over to Naura, who is going to take us through her portion, and that's going to be focused on hiring, because at the end of the day, everything starts from hiring the right people. Over to you, Naura.
Yes, of course. All right. Thank you so much, Ronka, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. Just to make sure, Aretha, will you be sharing the screen? Because the signal in my end is not very good, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, let me find my slides.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And very sorry for the signal part. I'm not too sure. It's been like a few days like this. I'm not too sure if it's also like that for you, Romka, where you are. But
Sometimes I have moments where it's a little bit unstable, especially in this weather. So this might happen.
yeah. All right. And also just a heads up. Um, all right. Okay. Okay. Yep, I think all good. Just I'm still loading on my end.
Oh,
Okay,
can you
yeah,
see it
all
now?
good.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
yeah, all good. Okay, well, hi again, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I want to reintroduce myself. So my name is Naura Utiara Madani, but you can just call me Naura. I'm a talent acquisition and project manager here with Avomind, and I've been so for the past 2.5 years. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to share some insights from working closely with both companies and also candidates across Southeast Asia. So yes, today I'll be walking you through, how hiring, how GTM strategy, and how sales execution are all, like deeply connected, especially in a region like Southeast Asia. So yeah, I think can go to the first slide, please. All right. Okay, so to start with, I want to just, zoom out and talk about the overall like hiring landscape in Southeast Asia. So one of the biggest misconceptions is that Southeast Asia is a single blob, a single like unified talent market. But in reality, it's incredibly diverse. There's a lot of different countries with different cultures. So it's definitely not a one size fits all environment. And interestingly, from what I've seen, like working with a lot of different companies and candidates, the biggest challenge here is not a lack of talent, but I mean, like if we're talking about talent, there's an abundance of talent in Southeast Asia out here. The main challenge here, I would say, is actually misalignment. So, like misalignment between companies and candidates on like expectations, on budget, flexibility, and transparency. So, for example, I've seen many processes where everything looks, like aligned and all good in the beginning, good candidates, strong interests, but once it reaches the offer stage, suddenly, expectations are completely different. And that's usually because things like, like budget or flexibility weren't clearly discussed in the beginning of the recruitment process. So yeah, there's also, often lack of transparency on both sides, which slows down the entire process or leads to like late stage drop-offs as well. And I would say right now we are also like seeing a clear trade-off emerging between flexibility and also cost. So I feel like the past 2 years, I've seen candidates increasingly expect hybrid or remote work, while companies may still prefer on-site work. And that becomes a key like negotiation point as well. So yeah, and I think finally hiring speed varies significantly across markets, especially with different like notice periods and availability. So overall, like there are these are like the core um, realities that companies need to like navigate when it comes to hiring, and most of them come back to alignment. So yeah, I think and go to the next slide, please. Okay, all right. Now, a lot of the markets that I've personally worked with these past 2 years are Singapore, Indonesia, Hong Kong, and Vietnam as well. Now, if we break this down by country, the differences become very clear. So for Singapore, to be specific, like it's a very candidate-driven market. So candidates are highly informed. They really know what they want. They know what they want in a job, things like that. And they're very selective and they're often comparing multiple offers at once as well. So for Singapore, I would say companies are not just competing for talent, but they're also competing against other offers as well. So I would say transparency plays a huge role in Singapore specifically. And in Indonesia, I would say it's both employer driven and also candidate driven as well, depending on the level of the candidates. But basically, in Indonesia, we often see a gap between company budgets and candidate expectations, especially for more like experienced roles. And what's interesting for Indonesia is that strong candidates often know their value as well, so they're less willing to compromise. And we're also seeing a growing demand of flexibility in Indonesia as well. So a lot of people are expecting more like hybrid instead of on-site. So yeah, that's also one thing to keep an eye out on as well when hiring in Indonesia. And in Hong Kong, I would say hiring tends to be a bit faster and more structured and also more rigid. So, for example, like language requirements like Mandarin or Cantonese can be like non-negotiable depending on the business. And in Vietnam, I would say Vietnam is a very fast-growing market with a very strong like junior talent, like lots and lots of great talent there. But sometimes, like English proficiency can be a constraint depending on the role and the company needs as well. And yeah, so again, like everything that I've mentioned in this particular slide, like really just reinforces the idea that you cannot apply a single hiring strategy across the region. So it's really different for every culture and for different countries as well. Yep. Next, please. All right, so building a regional hiring strategy. So how should companies approach building a regional hiring strategy? So, for this, I would say there are a few key principles. So first, I would say your first 3 to 5 hires in the region are absolutely critical. They often determine like whether your expansion succeeds or stalls or fails. And I've seen cases where the right hire can unlock an entire market, and the wrong one can completely like stall the progress as well. And second, I would say, yeah, hiring must align with your GTM strategy. So what this means in practice is that your hiring decisions should be directly tied to how you plan to enter the market, how you want to acquire customers, and how you want to generate revenue as well. So, And maybe let me do a quick example. So for example, if your GTM strategy relies heavily on outbound sales and relationship building, then you need hires who are strong in prospecting and networking and navigating like the buying processes. And on the other hand, if your strategy is more inbound or like product led, then you may prioritize roles like customer success or growth or like marketing to really drive the user retention. And which I'm not done yet, sorry. Could you please go back to the third slide?
Yeah, sorry. I
No
accidentally
worries.
pressed it. Hang on. Let me control.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so yeah, so as I was saying, so for the third one, hiring must also align with your growth stage. So what this means is that what you need at an early stage is very different from what you need later on. In the beginning, you're often looking for adaptable, for hands-on individuals with like who can like operate through limited structure, with someone that can help you figure things out. But as the company grows, the focus shift towards like more specialized roles, clear responsibilities, and people who can like scale the process and manage the teams as well. And I would say localization is also key. So as I mentioned, regional expansion is not just a copy paste kind of thing. So you need to localize to each country as well. So yeah, I think I can go to the next slide, please. Right. So who should be your first hire? So I think for this, let's get more specific on who those first hires should be. So it really depends on the GTM motion. So if you're focused on like enterprise, then you will need senior, well-networked individuals who can open doors and like build the relationships from scratch. And because at that level, access and trust are very critical, I would say. And if you're targeting SMB, then you will need more execution focused people, people who can actually go in, build processes and, test things and make things happen. And if you're product led, as I mentioned earlier as well, your priority may actually be, customer success and not exactly like a hunting sales type of role, because the goal is to, activate and
Yeah.
retention as well, not just acquisition. So yeah, I think a very common mistake I see is when companies hire junior sales talent too early, without having a pipeline or a clear structure. And the result is that those hires, they tend to struggle, not because they're not capable, but because the setup is not there yet. They're not supported by what their environment is at that time. So yeah, that's what I can share for this particular slide. And then, yeah, so closely related to the previous slide is that you can also hire depending on your growth stage. So, first of all, at the early stage, I would say you really want generalists. So, people who can wear multiple hats, across like sales, across partnerships, market discovery, someone who can like do it all because at this stage you are still figuring out what works and what doesn't. So you really want someone who can experiment with you, walk with you throughout the entire process. And I think this is where many companies can go wrong because they hire too narrowly, too early. So yeah, that's for the early stage. And as you move into the mid stage of your growth in your company, I think that's where you can start specializing in what you hire. So, you begin separating roles into like, for example, like sales into customer success and then operations. And then at a later stage, you focus on, structure and management layers and scalability. So it's really important to like go according to what growth your company is at that time. And I think one key insight that I want to emphasize here is that your first hire shouldn't just sell, they should also help you figure out how to sell in that market. What that means is that you should be able to, test different approaches, understand customer behavior, and give feedback on what messaging, what channels and what strategies actually work locally. And in many cases, they're not just executing something, but they're helping you build it from the ground up, from scratch. So you really want someone who can, like, again, as I mentioned, walk with you and experiment with you from the beginning. So yeah, can go to the next stage, please. Next slide, please. Sorry. Okay, so right now, let's talk about some common mistakes that companies make. So I think the first one is something that I see often throughout my 2.5 years here at Avomind is that they tend to use the wrong compensation benchmark. So, for example, a company would benchmark Singapore salaries against Indonesia, which is completely different. It creates immediate misalignment. So this often leads to like either overpaying relative to the market or more commonly underpaying and losing strong candidates early in the process as well. And second would be underestimating the local business culture. So as I mentioned, Southeast Asia, we have a lot of different cultures, and every country works differently. In many Southeast Asian markets, for example, building relationships or relationship building is very much a key factor. So it plays a very big role than a company would usually expect. So, deals are often built on trust and long-term connections. So candidates who understand these dynamics tend to perform much better in Southeast Asia based on my observation as well. And third is that sometimes companies hire senior talent too early without the right structure to support them. So, these hires can be expensive, and, they can be great on paper as well. They can be great during interviews and they can be great in general. But without the right setup, they may not perform as expected. In some cases, they may struggle because there's no like clear strategy or clear pipeline or internal alignment to support their role. They don't have enough support to make sure that they're performing well in their role. And fourth is that sometimes companies would apply HQ or headquarter hiring processes without localization. And yeah, finally is of course slow decision making. I think we see this a lot, not just in Southeast Asia, but also, in other countries as well. But yeah, I would say a lot in Southeast Asia, especially the past like 2 to 3 years. But yeah, strong candidates, they move very quickly. They are not just considering one offer, they're considering a lot of different offers. So if your process takes too long, then I'm afraid you will lose them. So, even if they were initially very interested in the beginning. So, yeah, I think can go to the next slide, please. All right. So now the challenge here is to balance speed and quality. So, I would say balancing speed versus quality is something that many companies struggle with, and I totally get that. I totally understand that, especially for commercial roles where the stakes are very high. So, commercial roles, they directly impact revenue. And the thing is, a poor hire does not just slow you down, but it can also damage like the pipeline in the future and also customer relationships as well. So usually a lot of companies think that the solution is to move faster by reducing interview steps. But actually, I think speed comes from clarity, and I really want to emphasize this point because the fastest hiring processes are not the shortest ones, but they're the clearest ones. So clear as in like the company knows what they're doing, like in terms of like best practices, like they align the stakeholders early, they define what are the must-haves and what are the nice-to-haves, and they use like structured evaluation criteria, and they also reduce the decision bottlenecks as well. So I think a simple framework that I like to use is speed equals to clarity plus alignment plus decisiveness. So a company that has all of this, they embody this equation, and I think they'd be able to definitely hire fast and also with clarity as well. Yeah. Can go next, please. All right, thank you so much. And yeah, now shifting to the candidate perspective. So what do, top Southeast Asian candidates really want when they're looking for a job or looking for a new role? So of course, people look at salary, like we're not gonna ignore salary. Of course, salary is a big factor in moving roles or moving to a new job or things like that. But beyond salary, there are a few things that really matter. So the first one I would say is clear career progression. So candidates don't just want growth, they want to understand what that growth looks like over time. So for example, like, okay, so for the first or second year, I'll be doing XYZ, and then third year, I'll be doing ABC, fourth to fifth year, I'll be doing XYZ again. So they want to know like what they'll be doing at each stage of their career. So that is like quite a critical thing these days that I've noticed in candidates these past few years as well. And second is also flexibility. So I would say this is increasingly expected these days. So especially in markets like Singapore and also now Indonesia, a lot of candidates want hybrid or remote work. They're prioritizing like more of their work-life balance as well. So flexibility is something that is very on top of their priority list as well. And yeah, in fact, I've seen candidates willing to trade off salary for flexibility. So that I think that goes to show how flexibility is a huge plays a huge role in determining whether someone wants to move roles or not. And third is also international exposure. So many candidates, of course, want regional or global experience. So this could be like, working with an international team or working with international clients or being able to chime in their ideas and their regional meetings, things like that. So they really want to be able to have that international exposure in their role as well. And fourth, leadership visibility and clarity on their role and impact as well. So, of course, impact plays a huge role in which someone wants a particular role. So they want to understand how their work contributes to the business because, um, it's good to have meaning to your work. So that's a lot of people are seeking for that like value in their work as well. And finally, of course, company stability and also transparency. So of course, they want to know how the company is doing, what the funding is like, what are the growth plans, what are the plans for the next 5 to 10 years. They want to see the clear outlook and what it looks like if they were to join that company and what impact they would make as well. So yeah, I think for this, the key takeaway here is that top candidates really value clarity and also flexibility just as much as salary or compensation. Yep. Okay, now in terms of choosing the right model, like the right hiring model, so for this, of course, there is no like one size fits all approach. So, yeah, so as you can see here on the table, I've divided it into local teams, regional hub, and also remote talent as well. So for local teams, I would say they are amazing or they're great for deep market understanding and also relationship building. So it's best for like new market entry if you want to like break through new markets. So a local team is definitely the most recommended. And then yeah, for local teams as well, of course, you'll get like the right market knowledge and also building trust, as I mentioned earlier. And the second is regional hub. So I would say regional hubs are more cost efficient and easier to manage, especially in the early stages. And then remote talent, I would say offers like flexibility and access to a wider talent pool. But I would say each model comes with their trade-offs as well. Like for example, remote talent can be faster and they can be more flexible, but they may lack the local market experience, the local market exposure. So even though you're getting fast talent, you're getting someone who's able to join earlier, things like that, but they might not have the expertise that you need at the end of the day. So again, it really comes down to aligning your model with your GTM strategy as well. Yep, can please go to the next slide. And yeah, so lastly, I would say on retention and employer branding. So one important point is that retention actually starts before day one. I know we commonly know is retention is like at later stages, things like that, but it actually comes before day one. So if there's already misalignment during hiring, it often leads to early attrition. So I would say setting realistic expectations and maintaining transparency throughout the process is very much key into a successful hiring. And another major factor is manager quality. And this is something I've seen very much consistently, actually. So people don't just leave companies, they leave managers, unfortunately. So day-to-day leadership really matters, who they meet every day, who they speak with every day, who advocates for them in the company really matters to candidates as well. And when it comes to employer branding, candidates rely heavily on real reputation, so peer networks, referrals, and actual experiences, or, like for example, reviews on Glassdoor, things like that. I would say they carry more weight than marketing. So yeah, I would say as well, like over promising like during hiring can actually backfire. So I think it's best to be transparent. Of course, it's good to promote your company as well during the hiring process, but it's good to stay transparent and stay to the truth as well so that you attract the right candidates as well. So yeah, I think to wrap up, yeah, well, Southeast Asia is a very high opportunity region, lots and lots of great talent. I've met a lot of amazing people throughout my time here at Avomind, but it does require a very thoughtful and a very like localized approach. So yeah, so hiring success overall is driven by like again transparency, by localization, by strong leadership and clear growth opportunities as well. So if you get these right, and you don't just hire better, but you build a much stronger, foundation for growth for your company moving forward. So yeah, I think that would be it from my side. I hope this has been helpful and insightful. So yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Naura. This is very insightful, and I love how we were talking about different stages companies are at, because usually hiring and, to be honest, go-to-market strategy are approached with that kind of a blanket lens of one size fit all. And it really isn't, especially when you're thinking about expanding your business and growing further. So what I would like to talk to you guys about right now is, okay, you've learned how to hire and you have some idea on how to hire, but what next? How do we really make money? What do we do from strategy perspective, and then execution on that strategy perspective as well? So I will share my slides now as well, and we can start deep diving into this. Okay. Great. Oops. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, great. Can everybody see my screen? Yes. Okay, great. Amazing. Fantastic. Cool. Thank you. So let's go through that. So I'm going to cover 5 elements today. That there is obviously more, and we could deep dive into them more, but this is really brushing a little bit over the surface of those things. But these are the elements you absolutely need to think about when you want to grow and when you want to have a sustainable and repeatable growth system in your company that is not reliant entirely on you as a CEO or a founder. So we're going to talk very briefly about why most go-to-market strategies fail in Asia. Then we're going to talk about one of the most important elements that is very often underestimated when we are thinking about go-to-market strategy, and that's the definition of your ideal customer profile. I'll show you what great looks like and not so great looks like so that you can differentiate. Defined sales motion is another one. There are three. Now, how do we really leverage them for us to be able to produce growth? Repeatable messaging, very important, and pipeline discipline. So, why very often strong products don't always convert into revenue in Southeast Asia? So you have a great product, you really invested into R&D, or you have a great service if you're selling services, and you're thinking this is going to go off the shelves like hot buns, but then it's not. And why? Because 67% decisions in Asia, especially in B2B world, get lost to no decision, not necessarily competition, which means that you're not always able to convince. And then the other data point that I have for you today is 3x longer sales cycle without a defined ideal customer profile, which means that your sales team or yourself, if you're selling, you're spraying and praying. Your pipeline is massive, but you're not converting. That's because you don't have defined the exact ideal customer profile and you're going to search for business in wrong places. And then another data point true for Asia is 80% of pipeline is noise, and it's just not qualified opportunity. And we're going to talk about it today a little bit as well. You need to be able to have some kind of process that helps you to qualify opportunities so that you spend your time in the right deals. Every single, and it's true for everything in life, right? When you say yes to something, you say no to something else. We all have the same 24 hours. So the root cause really for all those three is that strategy perhaps exists, you're proud of it, but perhaps the execution fails. So what it really is the biggest go-to-market challenge right now in your business? I'd love to know. You know, guys, I can't actually see the chat at the moment because I'm presenting, but perhaps you could unmute yourself and just say quickly, what is the biggest go-to-market challenge that you face at the moment? Very quiet crowd today. Okay. Well, feel free to write it in a chat, and then at towards the end of it, I can get back to it. So let's deep dive into ideal customer profile. To define ideal customer profile, we always need to have 4 elements, and those all 4 elements come together. They form a full picture. So it's the firmographics, the big picture, the company profile. So it can be headcount, how many people are employed in the companies of your interest. Where are they in terms of geography? So are they in Asia? Are they in Europe? American companies, Australia, New Zealand? We can narrow it down to the country level. When it comes to growth stage, where are they? Series E to C, bootstrapped profile, startups, SMEs, scale-ups, mid-market companies or enterprise. And also revenue band, which will tell you a little bit more about how much money they are making, meaning as well, what is the infrastructure that they are running at the moment. So these are the very high level, big firmographics, we call them, pieces of information. The second piece is buying roles. So who is actually buying? Who is taking the decision in the company, the persona, the title? So it's going to be a CEO, CFO, CTO, head of marketing, head of sales, HR, etc. Who is the champion? Who is going to be championing your product or your service? So again, it's going to be a title. Who is going to influence? And who is going to potentially block? You want all those 4, and there is probably more. You want all those 4 roles to be very clear in your sales process, because Data shows that there is at least, on average, 9 people taking part in the decision-making process when it comes to a purchase for the company. So it's not one, it's not two, it is 9. In SME space, it's probably going to be less than 9, maybe 5. In enterprise space, there's going to be probably more. It did happen to me that was about 15 or 17 people coming together to take a decision. So there will be champions, there will be influencers of your ultimate decision maker. The key point is, though, you need to know who is the decision maker, you need to know who has the budget, and you need to have a direct line of communication with those people when you're selling. Then the other 2 points are core pain points and trigger events. So that is actually very crucial. You don't want to go after any and every company that is, let's say, somewhere between 2 and 50 million, 50 people in Asia, and I want to be talking to CEOs. That is still too broad. You need to know what problem you're solving so that you can talk to the pain points of the company, because those companies then are more prone to come back to you and have a conversation. So what you want to really define it. What is it that hurts the customer today? So for example, in my case, it would be sales teams are executing inconsistently, revenue targets are missed, revenue is plateauing, they can't explain why deals are lost, no visibility into pipeline health. So this is the kind of an example of a pain point that would look like. You would need to find it out. What is it for your company? What are the problems that companies have that you can directly respond with your product or your service? And then trigger events are actually pain points, but they more answer a question of why now. So what is triggering that company to either respond to your outreach or reach out to you directly? What is triggering them today that they need a change? They need to solve that pain point that they are feeling. So for example, in our case, it could be new market entry, or they have a recent funding round and they want to hire. There is a leadership change or failed or stalling prior solution. So the trigger events answer the question, why now? So what does it really look like in reality? So here is on the left-hand side, you can see it's a weak ideal customer profile definition. We sell to SMEs in tech. Why is it weak? No firmographic specificity. So you don't really know how big is the customer. You don't really know where they are based, how much revenue they have. There is nothing. You don't have a pain point. Pain point is assumed, not validated, and you don't know the trigger. You don't have the why now. And then also you don't know who. From that definition, you don't know who you're going after. So in that case, everyone is a prospect, everyone is an opportunity, and that's not feasible. This is how your pipeline is going to be polluted with a lot of leads that will never convert. On the flip side, on the right-hand side, strong ICP, Series B, SaaS, 50 to 150 staff, expanding in Southeast Asia. That's very specific. Here we narrowed it down. It's still broad enough for you to be able to target a vast number of companies to go after. However, it's narrow enough for you to be able to get real business. The trigger will be here, for example, new CRO hired within the 90 days. And champion will be head of sales, head of RevOps, blocker, CFO, scrutinizing ROI, and the pain is 3 missed quarters in net revenue rate. So here it's very specific, and with that, once you have that definition, you know who you're looking for, and you can spot opportunities really quickly. The result is focused pipeline. It will be smaller pipeline than in comparison to our first definition here, but it will be much more targeted, which means as well your conversion rate is going to be much higher, and that will result in higher revenue. So moving forward, defined sales motion. So now we know how to define our ideal customer profile. How do we get to them? Well, there are 3 elements: inbound, outbound, and partner-led. All those three will have different conversion rates. Really, the lowest conversion rates are in the outbound, followed by inbound, and partner-led are converting the best. It's double-digit conversion rates, if I remember correctly. From the corner of my memory, I think it's about 20%, while inbound and outbound convert in single percentages. So what is inbound? What is outbound? What is partner-led? So inbound means customers come to you, they react to a trigger that they saw, that they react basically to interaction with your brand, content, some demo requests, maybe trial signups, freemium. I mean, anything they saw online or they heard about you was interesting, they decided to reach out. This is how the sales motion starts. They reach out to you, right? So what is really important is to capture and convert inbound motion is to really be very fast in responding to those MQLs, which are marketing qualified leads. We need to score them on the basis of buying signals. We need to qualify if this is within our ICP and then nurture them as well through some content. So here it's going to be very important how you interact with those leads that come to you and how you nurture them, how you respond to them, and how fast you're doing that. Outbound is really you reaching out to potential prospects. So these are going to be different kind of sequences that you have. So emails, outreach on LinkedIn, follow-ups from event, that's outbound. And here it's really more account-based versus ICP. And it needs to be multi-threaded approach. So like I mentioned, data shows us that on average, 9 people take a decision and participate in a decision-making process when it comes to purchase. So what you want to contact as many people as possible within your ICP, of course, into the companies of your interest. It should be trigger-based personalization. There is going to be assumptions you're going to have to make. However, when you do a research properly, you will be able to know what are likely pain points and triggers they have. And then remember, don't be discouraged. First outreach means nothing. Actually, the magic happens somewhere between fifth and seventh touch point. So follow up, and follow up is key. Partner-led, that's referrals, resellers, tech alliances, all kinds of alliances you might strike with other companies where you can tap on their clientele as well as prospect lists. So here is really going to market together, having a joint ICP. So ICP needs to be really pretty much the same as yours. And you go and you co-sell. So you might want to combine your offering with their offering. You might be able to come up with a specific solution just for this partnership. And there's always going to be that education part that is important for partners to know about you, because at the end of the day, they will be contacting their prospects and then clients first. So they need to know how to sell you to be able for you to monetize that partnership. The third one is repeatable messaging. Messaging is super important and it needs to be value-based. I can't emphasize that enough. We don't go and pitch the product straight away. How would we do that? Why would we do that? It's like going to a doctor and doctor prescribing you meds without even knowing what's wrong with you, right? So you don't diagnose without discovery. First, we do the discovery. First, we ask questions and dig into the pain points, uncover the triggers, and then we present a message that is focused on the value, which means the solution that you propose to fix their pain points and their triggers. This is how it works. Very often I see sales teams, CEOs, and founders going in and pitching in the first meeting. Big mistake. Big mistake. You lose your clients. They feel sold to. Flip the script. Talk to them first about their pain points. Understand why they want to change now. What do they want to change? What does it cost them to do nothing today? And then go with your messaging. And here I have a small script. So, like I said, we don't want to pitch. we want a value narrative. So we help Series B SaaS companies in Southeast Asia stop missing quarterly targets by giving revenue leaders pipeline clarity 30 days earlier. The formula here is at the bottom. So we help your ICP achieve what outcome, what does your product or service provide by solving which pain point. So if you do a great and strong research around your ICP, and if you define your ICP really well, this is going to be very easy to come up with. So this is the messaging needs to be persona specific. So if you're selling to multiple personas, maybe you have a tech solution. So you're selling to CTOs, you're selling to CIOs, you're selling to IT managers or IT heads. It needs to be persona specific. Objection handling scripts also need to be value based. So what are the potential objections that your persona and your ICP might have? Let's prepare that in line with what we offer and focusing on value. Discovery question bank. If you have that, it's going to be easier for you to go out to customers and ask all these questions, because I promise you, around your service or product that you're selling, there's going to be a very limited number of questions that you will be asking repeatedly to your clients to be able to extract that information about their pain points and triggers. So write it down, have it ready, and that's going to be easier for you every time. And then ROI and business case templates. So that's super important because everybody wants to quantify return on investments they are going to do with you. So do you have a calculator? Do you have a way of showing return on investments customers going to make with you? Do you have any case studies from existing clients that we can present of what's possible? That should be there, and that's part of the messaging part. So here, in the interest of time, I'm gonna skip really quickly, but what I wanna know from you is if I ask 3 of your sellers today, including you, to pitch your product right now, do you believe the message would be consistent? If yes, great, congratulations. But if everything else, not so great, and that means you have some work to do. And then the last one from me today will be pipeline discipline. That's the execution on the go-to-market strategy, right? So you may have a fantastic go-to-market strategy. You may have defined your ideal customer profile in great terms. You're proud of it. You know your sales motion deeply. You understand how to go out to customers and how to receive customers as well, and you have your partnerships in place. So what if your sellers, including yourselves as well, don't have the pipeline discipline? This is where everything, this is the truth. Your pipeline makeup is going to be a direct mirror of your go-to-market strategy, of the execution on the market strategy. So for example, things to pay attention to. Are your reps or yourself talking to the ICP? Yes or no? Are you leading with demos and pitch, or are you leading with discovery? What are you learning from discovery? What are the common denominators across customers? Do you have deals that are sitting there for 3 months or longer with no movement? That's a red flag. Do you have a large pipeline coverage, but every single time you forecast, you're 20% off, for example? What the actual is coming in at the end of the quarter or at the end of the month, that's wrong. Your forecast variation should be 5%. Are reps adding deals outside of ICP or within the ICP? And do they hit the activity targets? Do you even know what are your activity targets? So if you need to have, I don't know, $1 million a quarter, and your average deal size is 100K, how many meetings does it take to close one deal? And to build a pipeline, then how many meetings do your reps have to have? Do you have those numbers? If you don't, you need to have them. No consistent stage criteria, so everyone defines qualified differently. That's a big one, because that means that across, let's say, if you have 3 reps in your company, everybody is going to understand what a qualified deal looks like differently, and that's a problem. And win-loss data. So why are you winning? Where are you winning? Is where you winning aligned with your ICP? And why are you losing? It's also important to know that's feedback. Best practice is to define exit criteria for every pipeline stage. Really, pipeline stage, you can just download them from the web, or if you're using AI, just very simple prompt. And then define exactly what are the exit criteria from stage to stage. What does exactly look like in terms of, for example, if you're leaving discovery, so are we aware of the pain points? Are we aware of the triggers? What are they? Are we aware of the timeline for the customer? Does the customer have a budget? So exit criteria. If answer to all these is yes, then we are moving it to, for example, demo, right? And then we do the same for all the stages. This way, you're providing standard for all your sales reps and your sales as well. And therefore, definition, you're forcing a definition of what a qualified deal looks like that is standard for everyone. Everyone speaks the same language. It provides clarity to your pipeline. The industry standard is 3x pipeline coverage minimum per rep per quarter per their quota. So like I said, if you need to close $1 million a quarter, you need 3 million in pipeline. If you need 5 meetings to close one deal and average deal size is 100K, you can calculate from there how many meetings do you need to have, or do your rep needs to have, to be able to build out a $3 million pipeline. And weekly pipeline review, progress or disqualify. So I want to recommend a book it's actually a white paper that is free, available for free. It's called, oh my goodness, I forgot right now. It's called Pathways to Growth, and it was written by Tony Robbins and Mark Benioff, and it is fantastic. It's very easy to read, but it's fantastic in terms of building a cadence. Of course, what they have there is for enterprise organizations. You can scale it down, and I did every time. But it provides a really good cadence for a sales leader or a CEO to be able to implement with their team and extract the right level of information about pipeline. Separate pipeline health score from forecast. So is my pipeline healthy? And if so, therefore, can I expect my forecast to be within the variation of 5%? And then track loss reasons. Is it your product? Is it an ICP? So that's feedback to you, because from how you lose deals and how you win them as well is going to give you a very strong piece of and very valuable piece of information about if your go-to-market strategy works, your messaging, does it work, and are you going after the right accounts. So really, predictable revenue is putting those 4 elements together. So clear ideal customer profile, not too general. It needs to be specific. Repeatable messaging that is value-based, not product and features-based. Sales motion. Which sales motion is giving you the most? Why and what do you need to do to boost the other ones? Because all are an opportunity. And also pipeline discipline. What you get from all these things into your pipeline, is it healthy or not, basically. So this is how we do it. Just a reflection for you guys, which of those 4 areas are least defined in your company right now? Maybe all 4, and that means you have a lot of work to do. It's good news still, because now you know. So being aware is better than not being aware. And maybe there are some already you have in place, but you need to plug in some gaps. We will send those slides out to you. What I have here is kind of a 30-day go-to-market action plan for you to put in place and really work towards a strong go-to-market strategy. What we could do as well is specifically for this group today, we can provide a 30-minute free consultation. So if I can get ask you, Audrey, please to send in chat the link to Calendly. So if you guys want, I welcome conversations. I can give you 30 minutes of my time, or anybody in Growise to help you out with this, and maybe also wider questions you might have about your revenue architecture and problems with your revenue engine, and we can chat further. We're going to wrap up. We'd love your feedback. So this is a QR code to our feedback form. This is very, very short. It's going to take you literally 30 seconds. We just would love to know if you got what you wanted out of today from both myself and Nara. And if you would like to connect with us as well, please do so. And we will be happy to chat with you offline as well. So I'm just going to stop sharing now. We have literally 2 minutes. And just questions really. Do we have anybody who has a question? I guess I can take one question. Okay, no questions. With that, then I will wrap us up. Thank you so much for coming here today, joining us. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Nara and Avomind, for joining us and doing this together. Great pleasure. I also have learned a lot myself today as well. We will be sending out those slides to you, and when it comes to recording, it will be placed on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Romka. It was really nice to meet you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Have a great day.